Hey everybody, what's poppin'? Today I'm going to be renovating this base game starter home in Willow Creek. And the catch is that I can't spend any extra money. So that means that what the house is currently worth right now has to be what it's worth at the end. So let's take a quick look inside this house. This is the front. It's very bland, boring. We've got a wonderful, awkward blue column here, and not one on this side. And if we go inside, you can see that it's a little sad. So we've got this living room. We have a kids' room that's really just a bed and a bureau. And then I don't understand this. Someone please try to explain to me. Instead of having a wall here for the parents' room, you just walk into the parents' room. So, forget getting any quiet time in there. And then this room is pretty bare as well. We have a bed, a satellite, a bureau, a bookshelf, and that's it. So I'm hoping that I can liven up this house a little bit and make it look nice. And honestly, this kitchen is terrible, so hopefully it shouldn't be too hard to make an improvement. I like to play like a little bit of a storyline when I'm renovating sometimes. So I made two Sims. We have Kaylee and we have her daughter Mindy, and Kaylee's a single mom and she has her kid. And I want to make this like a nice, cute, fun home for them. So let's snap into the speed build.
So I kind of take the same general steps whenever I do one of these renovations. The first thing I like to do is I just delete all of the landscaping because it's ugly, we don't need it, and we can get it for free in debug. And then I like to be an absolute gremlin. So I'll like go through the house, I'll put everything that I want to keep in my inventory, everything that I don't want, I just delete it. And then we kind of get into the fun stuff. So for some reason, EA's starter homes always have medium wall height, and that makes the rooms look like very big, very empty, just kind of gross. So I usually just get rid of the medium walls right away, go back to small walls. It looks better with the doors and windows that we have, especially the ones that are cheap. And then I get into kind of fixing up the roof and the outside of the house. I wanted to kind of keep the same style as the rest of the neighborhood, so I did brighten up the house a little bit. I changed the roof, but I kept the same basic windows and doors because I didn't want it to be too drastic of a change. I also added a window in the bathroom because it seemed really unhygienic that they didn't have a window in the bathroom. Like, come on, that's nasty. Also brightened up the porch a little bit, added a little more texture by adding the brick foundation. Thought it looked nice, fun, fresh, funky, which is kind of what we need. And also solved that issue of the parents' bedroom not being private. That's gross. We all love privacy. After that, a lot of the lighting in the EA builds are really dim, so I just put in a lot of the little tiny subtle saucer lights. And then I like to just put in some plain wood floors and plain white walls. And from there, I'll kind of add and renovate to that, but it gives like a nice blank canvas to work off of. I was pretty conflicted about the kitchen. I kind of wanted to keep a similar layout to what it originally had because I felt like the layout did make sense. But then I was pretty dedicated to having this island, and I couldn't make it work having an island and a table, mostly because the round ones were too expensive and it looked really awkward when I like alt rotated the square tables, as you can see like right now. So I decided, you know what, no table, but we'll do three across island to fill the space. And then I ended up just like putting a big old plant right by the window because it looked good. I thought about having like a nice little like microwave moment over there, or having a little like side table, and I just couldn't get it to work. So it's fine. And now I'm just putting down some objects, trying to figure out what layout I want to have. This couch, this is base game. It's behind some like career unlocked. I think it's one of the best couches in the base game. I might be biased because I'm pretty sure my parents had that exact couch when I was growing up. Not sure about any of you, but it's just it's simple. It has some good texture on it, and it fits so well in so many builds. Favorite couch, A plus, one of the best base game items. Next thing was tackling these bedrooms. I'm not sure why my screen is clipped, missing some of the simoleons, but I didn't have a lot of money, so I couldn't really buy better beds, which was really unfortunate because I wanted to make this, upgrade the Sims' lives a little bit, and had to kind of stick with like the sad, cheapo beds. But you win some, you lose some, it's fine. And then this is the other big hack for making better base game builds, or not better base game builds, but for renovating base game starter homes, and that's to just make it smaller. One of the issues I mentioned earlier with the base game starter homes is a lot of times they're just big and empty. And the best way to make them big and empty is to keep the same amount of stuff in them and just make them smaller. And it just makes the build look a lot nicer, it fills it up better. I feel like a starter home is meant to be kind of small anyways. So unless you're playing a storyline where you kind of want a big empty house, just make it small and put in some lights, and suddenly your build is like 10 times better, which is exactly what we want. Then I was trying to figure out what type of wallpaper, and I had this whole internal debate with myself with whether or not I wanted the crown molding on it or not. And I really like using this tile behind the kitchen. I think it looks really cute. It's probably one of my favorite wallpapers in the base game. And it's just like the perfect height for a backsplash. And honestly, the mix of crown molding and then having the backsplash without the crown molding, it just like wasn't working for me. So eventually I ended up ditching it, but obviously not after having a huge like emotional complex over it. I also was debating whether or not I wanted to do like beige or blue. And then the beige and then the gray counters just looked really sad and boring, and I did want to really liven this up, so I decided to do the blue. For the kids' room, I wanted it to feel really fun. I was keeping my little family in mind that I placed originally on the lot. And so I put like a blarfy. I decided that the kid was going to be really into purple, so I like the purple bed and like the fun colored clothing cubby and like purple little light, blarfy. And I feel like that just adds a little bit more personality, makes the room feel a little more full. Like if you load into this and start playing in it, like your kid has stuff to do besides just watch the TV. And I don't know, it's really wholesome stuff, and I like to make wholesome builds, so. And then I wanted to add a little bit of clutter. There's not a lot of budget, and I didn't want this to be, like, terribly specific just to the 2 Sims that I created for this. I want it to be playable for a lot of people, and I know a lot of folks don't really like having a ton of clutter. So I added, like, some paper towels and flowers and books and kind of more generic clutter items, so that way there's still tons of space where you could put things more personal to your Sims if you decide to play in this house, but also there's enough stuff that it feels like it's not just an empty house. Like there's some nice like touches, like, you know, like a tissue box, like everyone uses tissues, or like flowers, or they just brighten up a room. It's really nice. And there's like, you know, toilet paper in the bathroom and like the little rug by the front door, and I felt like those were just like, you know, those are some quality like touches. And then we got to the front porch, and this was a struggle bus moment because I couldn't decide what I wanted to put on the front porch, and I was having this huge conundrum over it, and then I realized that if I just changed the color of the stairs, it kind of fixed the whole problem of the part of it that I didn't like. And terrain paint. Using terrain paint instead of actual tiles for a pathway, huge hack to save money. One of my favorite things to do when I'm doing one of these renovations, delete those tiles, harvest that money, and then just use terrain paint. Like debug, it is totally free. This was a moment in the build where I realized we had no cheap paintings in the base game, and I looked through and went, well, I guess we're just going to have bare walls, and I'll put a couple plants, so that will make it better, right? And I was like, I don't know if I'm convincing myself that this is better or not. Also really wanted to put down the salt shaker and just couldn't find the right spot for it, so I just decided not to. And yeah, just adding a couple more touches, like the little cat toy and a floor lamp. And this is where I realized I'm almost out of money, so I decided to put like this little painting up there. And then I went into debug and just tossed down a little bit of landscaping. It looks really bad right now because it's currently spring in this save, but when we do the build tour in a couple seconds, I'm going to hop into a different season, so that way things will look nice and look colorful, and I'm just kind of guessing of what would look good, but I'm really happy with how this turned out. And I also like this little stone path, adding a little bit of terrain paint underneath it, so that way it has some dimension and looks nice. Chef's kiss. Wonderful. So stoked with how this build turned out. Anyways, let's hop into that build tour.
Okay, so I've quickly popped into another save where it's a different season, so that way we can see the plants. But this is the finished product. If I hop inside and we'll go, maybe not go top down, but if we look through the inside of the house, we've got just a lot more color. We've got a nice big kitchen with a lot of counter space, and we've got the nice little living room, kids room, bathroom, and parents room. I feel like this is a huge improvement. I don't know about you, but comment down below with what you thought about this renovation. And if you like this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe, turn notification bell on, do all those fun YouTube things, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.